They hate President Trump, and they don't want to see President Trump get a win. But President Trump is winning for this country every day. As you just said, 70% of everybody arrested are criminals. But, you know, and the numbers show it. Sean, we have the most secure border in the history of this country because of the work of President Trump and the men and women of the Border Patrol. But you know what also gave us the most secure border in this country? What ICE is doing right now. We've sent a message to the whole world. It's not okay to enter this country illegally. If in this country in violation of the law, we will deport you when we find you. It's that plain and simple. And for people that want to misinterpret what President Trump sending to Minneapolis means, then you're not paying attention. President Trump is going to Minneapolis to save lives of officers, to save lives of the community, and do smart law enforcement operations.
Tonight, far from the battlefield, we usually talk about an island nation that is fighting crisis without a single missile being fired. Welcome to the new frontline of global power politics, Cuba. Let's start with what just changed here. The United States has dramatically escalated pressure on Havana. President Donald Trump has declared an emergency posture and backed it with a powerful economic threat. Any country that supplies oil to Cuba could face massive US tariff. Pause there. This is not just a sanction. This is a warning to the entire world. Trade with Cuba and risk losing access to the American economy. So, why is oil all of a sudden the weapon of choice? Because oil is not just fuel for Cuba, it is survival. No oil means no electricity, no transport, factories slow down, hospitals struggle, daily life begins to stall. And that is exactly the pressure point Washington appears to be targeting. Here's where the situation turns dramatic. Cuba depends heavily on foreign fuel, specifically from the allies. But those supply lines, they are now under threat. Shipments are shrinking, reserves are tightening, blackouts are spreading across parts of the island. Imagine entire neighborhoods going dark, turning thin, air conditioning falling silent in the tropical heat. Emergency crisis is not loud, they are brutal. And the message from Washington is blunt. The White House says that these moves are about national security and protecting American interest. But read between the lines now. This is strategic pressure designed to force change without firing a single shot. A modern blockade does not always involve wars. Sometimes it is done with tariffs, trade rules, and financial fear. Now let's step back and look at the bigger chessboard. This is no longer just a US-Cuba standoff. Every oil-producing nation is now facing a difficult calculation. Help Cuba and anger Washington, stay away and watch the island struggle. This is how economic isolation works. Not overnight, but gradually, relentless. Inside Cuba, the muse is defiant but tensed. Leaders are condemning the pressure, calling it aggression, refusing to bow. Yet, the reality is simple. An economy already under strain cannot afford an energy shock. When fuel disappears, everything becomes fragile. But here's the question nobody is asking loud enough. Is this about Cuba alone, or is this a signal to other nations too?
President Trump is threatening new tariffs on more countries, this time targeting countries that sell oil to Cuba. In an executive order, the president calls Cuba's government an extraordinary threat to U.S. national security and foreign policy. The same order cites Havana's ties to Russia, China, Iran, and the militant groups Hamas and Hezbollah. Trump did not specify how high the tariffs could go, but said any country that directly or indirectly provides oil to Cuba could face new levies on goods sold in the United States. Speaking to reporters at an event honoring First Lady Melania Trump at the Kennedy Center last night, the president suggested Cuba's government may not endure.
Cuba is a failing nation. No. And you have to feel badly for Cuba. They've treated people very badly. We have a lot of Cuban Americans who really were treated very badly, and they'd probably like to go back. And no, I'm not trying to, but it looks like it's something that's just not going to be able to survive. I think Cuba will not be able to survive.
The president also escalated trade tensions with Canada, threatening to decertify Canada-made aircraft and impose a 50% tariff. Trump accuses Canada of illegally blocking certification of U.S.-built Gulfstream jets.
Tensions between the United States and Iran are reaching fever pitch amid the threat of an imminent war. Iranian Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei has made a public appearance one that carried a strong message for the US. Here's a report.
The war of words between the US and Iran is refusing to die down, hinting towards the possibility of a direct confrontation. The West Asian region is bracing for impact. The US is locked and loaded. Trump is weighing his options, and Iran is promising a retaliation like never before. Amid the threat of an imminent war, Iran's Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei has sent out a strong message. The 86-year-old Supreme Leader visited the shrine of Ruhollah Khomeini, the founder of the Islamic Republic. The visit is being seen as a strong message to the US. Reports say taking out Khamenei is one of the options on Washington's table. His public appearance also comes amid rumors that he was hiding in a bunker. As tensions reach a fever pitch, Iran's army chief has warned that its armed forces are on high alert. Tehran claims it has a more potent arsenal than during the 12-day war, and it stands ready to retaliate with strength. Tensions are palpable on Iran's streets. Billboards in central Tehran are displaying coffins draped in American and Israeli flags. They bear an ominous message for the US. Watch out for your soldiers. Less than a year after the 12-day war, familiar foes US and Iran look set for another confrontation. One that could be far more devastating both in scale and impact. The US has assembled its powerful armada near the waters of Iran. It is led by the nuclear-powered aircraft carrier the USS Abraham Lincoln, which is flanked by 3 naval destroyers. Washington has also rushed in fighter jets and heavy bombers into regional bases. Additionally, it has docked its Navy destroyer in the port of Eilat, Israel's only commercial gateway to the Red Sea. US President Donald Trump has indicated that Iran would seek to negotiate a deal rather than face American military action. Trump says he has given Iran a deadline to talk about its nuclear and missile programs. Citing the US military action in Venezuela, Trump has warned Iran of the same reciprocity from the US armada floating near the Islamic Republic.
We have a large armada, flotilla, you can call it whatever you want, heading toward Iran right now, even larger than what we had in Venezuela. It's still in front of, we're now sending actually a larger number of ships to Iran. And hopefully we'll make a deal. If we do make a deal, that's good. If we don't make a deal, we'll see what happens.
Iran says it is open to talks on its nuclear program, but its missile capabilities and defensive power are off the table. Its elite force, the IRGC, has announced 2-day live-fire drills in the Strait of Hormuz. This has prompted the US Central Command to issue a stern warning, asking Iran to avoid any unsafe actions. Iran's president has hit out at Trump and Netanyahu yet again.
They rode on our problems, provoked, and they were seeking and are seeking to tear society to pieces. And the presence of the leadership, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, and his precious existence and the perspectives that exist have neutralized these conspiracies and will always neutralize them.
As tensions simmer, the region has now become a tinderbox, and a minor spark risks pushing the region into an all-out war. Bureau Report, WION. World is One.
My visit here today comes at a time when geopolitical, economic and technological shocks are literally shaking the world. And that matters deeply to the British people, because these international events increasingly come crashing into our daily lives. When war overseas drives up fuel prices at home, it's families that feel it first. When supply chains fracture, it's small businesses and working people who absorb the shock. And when instability rises, it's the vulnerable who are the most exposed. So our response together must be one of strength and clarity, deepening our resilience, our powers and our alliances to better serve our people. The Prime Minister and I share this perspective, and that's why I'm here today. Together, we are the leading economies in the CPTPP, allies in the G7 and G20, and partners in the coalition of the willing. Japan is the United Kingdom's largest inward investor outside of the US and Europe, sustaining 150,000 British jobs. Now, I remember the state banquet that His Majesty the King held for His Majesty the Emperor at Buckingham Palace in 2024. And His Majesty the King said then that our two nations are friends like no other. And I'm proud to say that this relationship is the strongest now that it has been in decades. And the Prime Minister and I had an excellent meeting today. We set out some clear priorities to build an even deeper partnership in the years to come. That includes working together to strengthen our collective security across the Euro-Atlantic and the Indo-Pacific. I thank the Prime Minister for her steadfast leadership in supporting Ukraine. And we discussed deepening our industrial and technological collaboration, building on our GCAP partnership, on which we place great value. Our priorities for this partnership include boosting growth and economic resilience.
Well, this is angry spilling onto the road. Politics turning personal and powerful message being shouted right outside one of the most heavily guarded diplomatic zones in the world. Baghdad is restless again, and this time the target of fury is not just policy. It is President of the United States. You're watching Times XP. It's me, Dhriti Yatri. Now imagine the heat that is rising off Baghdad street. Crowds gathering, voices growing louder, security forces watching closely, and then suddenly, photos of Donald Trump goes up in flame. Not hidden, not symbolic, public, defiant, televised. Tyrant, don't interfere. A slogan that reveals something deeper than the political disagreement here. It signals wounded sovereignty. But you know what sparked the outrage here? Well, the trigger was a warning from Washington. Trump reportedly cautioned against the political comeback of their former Iraqi Prime Minister, Nouri al-Maliki, a deeply polarized figure in Iraq. Alongside that warning came something even more serious: the possibility of cutting American aid. Now let's pause here. For a country rebuilding after decades of war and instability as well, aid is not just money. It is security support, economic breathing room, institutional backing. So when assistance is mentioned as leverage, it lands heavily. But you know why Iraqis are pushing back? Well, to understand the anger, you must understand Iraq's history. For years, foreign powers have influenced its trajectory. Wars fought on its soil, governments shaped under external pressure, allies negotiated beyond its border, and today, a new generation of Iraqis is increasingly asking just one question: should outsiders still decide our political future? Now, this protest was not just about one whole statement. It was about frustration, a demand to be heard. In the meantime, the US Embassy in Baghdad is no ordinary building, right? It represents American presence, American power, American partnership as well. And in moments like these, it also becomes a lightning rod. Crowds gathering near it sends a visual signal to the entire world. Public patience is thinning. Even if the protests remain contained, the optics matters because perception shapes diplomacy. Iraq is on a very delicate tightrope here. Here's the strategic dilemma that Baghdad is facing. Iraq cannot easily lean too far in any direction. On one side, the United States, a long-term security partner, and on the other hand, you have powerful regional partners with deep influence. Between them stands Iraq, trying to protect stability that came at a tremendous cost. This is not simple geopolitics, it is a high wire diplomacy. One wrong move could reset the entire internal imbalance. In fact, there is rise of nationalism here. What we are witnessing may be part of a larger shift. Across several regions, domestic voices are growing louder. Citizens want more autonomy, less external pressure, greater control over leadership choices. National pride is becoming a powerful political force, and when nationalism surges, foreign warnings often trigger backlash instead of compliance. Let's talk about show of force, a challenge, and the waters near the Strait of Hormuz that are becoming global stage. Because right now, three of the world's biggest powers, Iran, China, Russia, they are moving fleets into one of the most strategically important stretches of water on Earth. You're watching Times XP. It's me, Dhriti Yatri. Well, warships are sliding through the Gulf of Oman. Drones are scanning the horizon. Missile systems are online. All eyes are on Strait of Hormuz, the choke point through which nearly 20% of world's oil passes every single day. And in the distance, the USS Abraham Lincoln is patrolling a massive American carrier strike group showing the flag in these tense water. But you know why this moment is so explosive? Because Iran is not acting alone here. That's right, for the very first time, China and Russia are joining Iran for a joint naval drill. These exercises are not small, they are designed to test coordination of fleet across long distances, anti-ship and anti-air tactic, missile defenses, and drone integration. Essentially a full-scale rehearsal for potential combat without firing a single shot yet. Iran's Revolutionary Guards is amplifying the tension also. They have released drone footage that shows their naval capabilities in action and clear signaling that we see you, we are ready, do not miscalculate. Now in military term, that is not a casual warning. Washington and Tel Aviv are taking notice. Experts warn that any incident in these crowded, narrow waters quickly spiral out of control. One misstep, one aggressive maneuver, one accident, and all of a sudden the entire Gulf region could erupt. Now add China and Russia to the picture. Their presence signals something bigger. Strategic support for Tehran. That's right. This is not just about protecting Iran's coast. It's about challenging the US presence in the region directly. Now here, analysts are calling it geopolitical message. We are here. We can operate together. US dominance is not unchallenged though. For the US, the message is clear. Watch closely, act carefully. The Abraham Lincoln and its escort ships, they are some of the most advanced naval assets in the world. Equipped with the missile defense systems, stealth fighter jets like F-35C, Glore electronic warfare aircraft, anti-missile interceptors, basically in short, a floating fortress. But even a fortress has limits. In a crowded sea with multiple adversaries coordinating together, the margin of errors, it shrinks dramatically. Now here, experts warn that just one incident, intentional or accidental, could ignite a wider conflict, dragging multiple nations into a high-stake confrontation. Can you think about that? The Strait of Hormuz is tiny as compared to the ocean, yet it controls the flow of global oil and trade. Control here is not just military, it is economic power, political leverage, and global influence, which is why every move, every drill, every signal is magnified on the worldview scale. So tonight, the Middle East is a power keg. Iran, backed by China and Russia, is flexing. The US is watching, weapons ready, patience thinning. While Israel is monitoring, nerves about escalation, and the world is holding its breath. In the end, this is more than a naval drill. It's a warning, a statement of power, a test of resolve, and in waters where one wrong move can trigger global consequences. Everybody is playing with fire. So the real question is, will diplomacy contain the spark? Or will the Strait of Hormuz become the epicenter of a showdown the world is not ready for?
This is Dabu7, and we've got some major market activity here today. It looks like someone is panicking. We have all the big sites throwing up technical glitches and errors, and you can see the market is dumping out big time. Now, We just had warnings put out by Peter Schiff and others saying that these are signs that a huge crisis is about to unfold, either this year or into next year. And that was because gold was surging. That was their telltale sign. Now, the money masters, the manipulators, JP Morgan Chase and company that have been busted doing this in the past, they have pulled back the gold and silver and dumped the markets out big time. I told you before that they were short. They couldn't pay for everything that they owed at the elevated levels. This is unprecedented. We have never seen a dump off like this ever before. Within 24 hours, you're talking gold minus 12.5% at least, silver minus 34%. It went all the way down to $75. Silver did. And it's doing a little bit of a rebound right now in the 80s. Could be just a small dead cat bounce, and all this continue to fall off. Okay? We're getting close to a Sigma 8 event. That's something that has never happened in the history of finance. And that's crazy. That's more than the GDP of 99% of all the countries in the world, gone in one day. So we've entered this forced liquidation type of phase. And this is a liquidity black hole pretty much. Every major fund out there is getting margin called right now. So they're selling only things that they have left, the only things that they have left here that hold value. They have to do so to cover the losses. So you don't want to get sucked into this. Obviously, this is a window, though, of buy opportunity for anyone that thought that they missed out. This thing, silver especially, clipped 100 and then hit 120. The fallout in this short amount of time from $120 down to $75 is crazy. Again, all of the major sites here glitching. How convenient. On the heels of these warnings of a crisis situation. Look at this. LME and then HSBC, a major bullion bank, having technical issues. All of them. Mass bullion places and banks. We've never seen it like this. The dump off is real. And again, it opens up a buy window. We were hoping to see something between 70 and 75, and it came down and touched it. The markets closed for the weekend, I believe 6 p.m. Eastern. They opened back up same time on Sunday evening, I believe. That's the scale. It's going to be interesting to see what happens over the weekend because something's tied into this for sure. We got a situation here where the Trump administration is buying up mega warehouses across the country. This is no joke. To turn them into detention centers. They say that protests are popping up all over the place because people are ticked off about this idea and questions are being raised that are legitimate. How come nothing like this was talked about before? And how come all the illegals that have been shipped out of the country can't be shipped out the same way they've been being shipped out, which is immediately? Why all of a sudden do you want to hold them in this country en masse? The cost to acquire just 2 warehouses is $172 million. A third is going up in El Paso, Texas, and it could be among the largest jails of any kind that has ever been built when it's done. Right? These deals are going to put 23 warehouses up across the country to deal with alleged migrants. Okay? But people are saying, how is this possible? Because you're not holding them in mass anywhere else. You haven't done so this whole time. You've just been able to get them and take them out of the country, which was what was promised. It was never said that they were going to be housed and kept in a jail in this country. Okay? Now, some people that are small-minded and short-sighted and can't see that all the laws Trump is putting on the books will be flipped and turned against them down the road. That's exactly what all this could be set up for. And I can't help but think, when a real pandemic falls into place and they got strike teams already out there rounding people up, where are purebloods going to go? Where are anyone that doesn't want to get a forced inoculation going to go? We've warned you about this, and the police state is going up right in front of your face. R.I.P. Crowley. He saw this and envisioned it all and put it out there in Gray State, and they clipped him for it. And guess where it's all unraveling right now in front of your face? Minnesota, and the police state being rolled out right in front of your face. So you can call them detention centers and be small-minded and think they're for illegals. I'm telling you now. These are for anyone down the road that doesn't comply when the full, real lockdowns go into motion. And it's just crazy how so many people are again, short-sighted and have small memories that we just went through this whole beta test. It's like they forgot. And really, we're still in it. Because this whole thing of men rounding up migrants is staged to give them practice for rounding up everyone else. I hope you see it before it's too late. So, call them what you want, detention centers for migrants, and that's fine if they're going to house them there in the meantime. Doubt it. For those that see the bigger picture, it's game time, crunch time. This means that the event is really right around the corner. And of course, it's going to happen on Trump's watch. So, time's ticking. This is the latest. I'll leave a link. All this is legit. These warehouses are going up. And if you know of any protest or anyone that's countering these being bought or anything, let me know. Dabu7@yahoo.com. This, in my book, has nothing to do with migrants. It's all a ploy and all about building this police state right in front of your face.
Praises and glory to our power, Yahweh. Bahashim Yahushua, Bahashim Rachakwadash. The honors to the apostles, the bishops, and the elders of Great Millstone. Peace and blessings to the hopeful elect of the tabernacles of David scattered throughout the four corners of the earth, wherever you may be, and wherever you may be. To you I say, Shalom, Yeshua, Shalom. Alright, this is what was just mentioned in the video, police state. So we're going to read this here, just to get a general overview into this. So a police state is a political system, often authoritarian or totalitarian. As a matter of fact, when we're done reading all this, we'll come back and get those words, and what I'll do is I'll copy one and then I can type the other, so we won't have to forget either one. So often authoritarian or totalitarian, where the government exercises extreme, often arbitrary control over civil society and liberties using a national police force or secret police. And we're getting a small glimpse into that with ICE. Okay, you're going to have National Guard troops. They have the Quick Response Force, which is really part of the National Guards as well, somewhat. You have the actual troops. You even have the UN that will that could possibly the guys with the blue helmets. Okay, so however they want to play things, because I mean, you even got these different alphabet boys of the government, right? These alphabet people. And I'm not talking about the happy people. I mean the things like CIA and different things, or whatever they want to use. They could use whatever they want. Okay, but use a national police force or secret police. These regimes feature rampant surveillance. Yep. You got things like Palantir. Oh, we haven't talked about China in a while. With China, with all these cameras. They said they have one. Man, how was it? What is it? Well, we get one camera for every 10 people, and there's millions of people in China. Okay, but you get my point, all right? Mass surveillance. Bear with me. Yeah, so like I was saying, in China, in the major cities in China, they have this whole social credit score system going. That's what they want to bring to all the states of Babylon over here. So that rampant surveillance, censorship, yep, news, media, social platforms like YouTube, so on and so forth. Things that you can, read and research. I mean, the main censorship is the prophets. It says suppression of dissent and limited distinction between law and executive power. So, key characteristics and examples. Hold on, man. Alright, so key characteristics and examples. Surveillance and control. Citizens live under constant surveillance with freedoms of speech and assembly severely restricted. Alright, one of the things we just talked about. Which was, it says rampant surveillance, and then censorship. All right, here. My goodness. Historic examples as Nazi Germany 1933 to 1945 utilized the Gestapo and SS to eliminate opposition through widespread arrest. Ethiopia under the Derg 1974-1987 used a secret police force to suppress dissent, particularly during the Red Terror. In modern context or debate, some analysts have argued that certain aspects of police states, such as surveillance, militarized police, and suppression of protests, see, because they have, they have ICE, they have the troops, the National Guard, that is, and then you have the quick response force, all right, such as surveillance. They can. Speaking of surveillance, ICE can scan your tags, find information on you. They can also scan your face. So if they can catch up to you, they can scan your face, and if they can't, they can scan the tags on your car. So such as surveillance, militarized police, and suppression of protests. Actually, now a side note here, I just thought about it reading militarized police. I remember hearing about the giving the police the old equipment and stuff from the military. They're not getting tanks and stuff like that, and rocket launchers, and but equipping them with higher level stuff than a regular police officer would have. But anyways, the suppression of protest have appeared in contemporary democracies like the U.S. or the U.K. Other definitions: films, Police State 1989, Police State 2017, Police State 2023, the Sousa Bongino, Performance Art, Police State 2025, The term is often used to describe regimes where the state places itself above the law, prioritizing national security over individual rights. Yep. And that's why they will declare martial law. I think we... There's the other one right there. Let me read the top portion and then that definition. Let me get the definition first. So the definition, which is straightforward, says favoring or enforcing strict obedience to authority, especially that of the government, at the expense of personal freedom. Right, that's authoritarian. Favoring or enforcing strict obedience to authority, especially that of the government, at the expense of personal freedom. And the top says authoritarianism is a political system or leadership style focused on strong central power, demanding obedience and limiting individual freedoms, often seen in regimes with one leader or party, military rule, or absolute monarchy, characterized by controlling information, suppressing opposition, and undermining democratic institutions, though it differs from totalitarianism by usually having less persuasive ideological control and more defined, albeit arbitrary, power limits. It maintains power through propaganda, manipulating fear, scapegoating, controlling the media, and dismantling checks and balances, sometimes emerging subtly from democracies. Alright, so let's put in, where's the other one that we had? Here's my clipboard. What the heck is going on? Okay. Look, hold on now. Just want the clipboard. There you go. Oh, I gotta read this one. Yep, totalitarianism, relating to a system of government that is centralized and dictatorial and requires complete subservience to the state. Alright. Subservience meaning what? Willingness to obey others unquestioningly. So just, like they say the Pledge of Allegiance, right? That's exactly what you're doing there. Relating to a system of government that is centralized and dictatorial and requires complete subservience to the state. So totalitarianism is a form of government where a single party or leader exerts absolute centralized control over all aspects of public and private life, aiming to transform society through ideology, terror, and propaganda. And all those things are happening right now. Okay, makes me think about that movie Leave the World Behind, where they talked about the stages. And one of those things was saying the spread of misinformation, which can come in the form of what, false flags, these psyops and things of that nature. And then I forget the whole process, the whole step thing they were talking about, but then eventually says, the people do the rest, which is what we see now, the protesting. You just haven't gotten to the level where, like I said earlier, I believe it was earlier today, people have not really deleted these ICE agents, right? All the deletions I've been having on the side of these protesters, whether it's a psyop, or not, right? It's happening on the other side, but it's going to get to the point where somebody's going to end up getting their hands on one of these, ICEs. It's probably going to, go down. But anyways, centralized control over all aspects of public and private life sounds like what? It sounds like total control over what you do, what you can and cannot do, what you can and cannot say. Going along with surveillance, right? All right. So, aiming to transform society through ideology, terror, and a little bit. Everybody's a terrorist, right? But this is through terror and propaganda. Okay. I see the word propaganda, I immediately think BS. That's the definition of propaganda. BS. It suppresses individual freedoms, eliminates opposition, and often utilizes a cult of personality and state-controlled media to maintain power. Look, it says absolute state control. The government controls the economy, media, education, and personal lives, leaving no space for individual autonomy or independent organizations. And this is why they want to institute a microchip. See, because that's what it's leading up to. That's the key to their whole enterprise. All right. As a matter of fact, we'll get that just to get a scripture or two. All right, their enterprise. Single party rule and ideology. Wow, a single party led by a dictator dictates an official, all-encompassing ideology that guides the state's actions and defines the truth. Terror and coercion. Totalitarian regimes rely on secret police, surveillance, and violence to eliminate dissent and enforce obedience. There you go. See, mass surveillance, mass control. Look, there's the word masses, right? Let me read this. Constant propaganda is used to create a false reality. You see, this dystopian world, and mobilize the masses in support of the state's goals, which we know runs deeper than just the states, right? It's going to be a country thing and eventually a global thing, all right? This whole look, I'm gonna check this out. Whole system that Esau's trying to pull out. Maintaining control. Totalitarian states maintain control through a coercive system involving surveillance, terror, and propaganda. Notable examples include Nazi Germany. Why does this keep popping up? Because this is what they're doing right now. The same thing that Nazi Germany was doing. All right. Notable examples include Nazi Germany, the Stalinist Soviet Union. All right. This is talking about Stalin. I forget his first name. Or Stalinist Soviet Union and modern North Korea. Modern North Korea. Interesting. All right, so. Oh yeah, I was going to get those. We'll pull up a blue real quick, and we'll type in enterprise. Here's right there. Job 5. As a matter of fact, that's probably on the scripture that we need. Yep. It's off the screen though. Let me do this. Here we go. So Job 5:12. He disappointed the devices of the crafty. Who's the crafty? He's talking about Esau, Edom. That serpent of old. All right, the crafty. Let's get the word crafty real quick. All right, Irawam, subtle, shrewd, crafty, sly, sensible, crafty, shrewd, sensible, prudent. This is the same thing it said about the serpent in the garden, which was a man who was one of the original lineages of Esau, Edom today of this earth. All right, the Edomites today of the earth. Okay, as a matter of fact, let's go and get that real quick and prove the point about the serpent. I think we should better get 3. Yep. Now the serpent was more subtle than any beast of the field. All right, which talking about these other, nations and these other people. Okay, I think it's in Ecclesiastes where it says that they're like beasts. Talk about the men of the earth, or the people of the earth. Not just the men, all the people, male or female. Okay, are like beasts. So these are talking about the people, the different nationalities that were back then. Okay, now the serpent, which later on this equivalates to the seed line of Esau, Edom, the so-called white people of the earth today. The majority, because not everyone with that particular skin tone and look are actually Edomites, but if we talk majority numbers, those are the Edomites. All right, so now the serpent was more subtle than any beast of the field which Yahweh power had made. And he said unto the woman, yet hath the Most High said, ye shall not eat of every tree of the garden. And the woman said unto the serpent, we may eat of the fruit of the trees of the garden, but of the fruit of the tree which is in the midst of the garden, the Most High said, ye shall not eat of it, neither shall ye touch it, lest ye die. And the serpent said unto the woman, ye shall not surely die. All right, and that was the beginning of, the fall. He says right here in the subheading, the fall of man, by Eve dealing with the serpent. They both were going off. The serpent had no business doing what he was doing. Eve had no business, kicking it with another man. Okay, and then Adam was also weak by falling to the philosophies that Eve brought. So that was a triple drum roll, and everybody got their judgments actually in the same chapter further down below, around like 14, 15. So we're going to get these two words here. First we get serpent, nachash. It says serpent, snake, but if we go back to the root word, which is also nachash, it says what? To practice divination, divine, absurd times, learn by experience. They accomplish a diligent search, right? Diligently observe. There you go. Same thing. Practice fortune telling. Stand now and dine enchantments. Take as an omen. Practice divination to observe the signs or omens. Now, where are the snakes that can do this? You mean to tell me there's no trace of it? There's no talk of it? There's no TV shows or documentaries about them? They don't have them in a circus. They don't have them in no not gymnasium, damn gymnasium, museums. You mean to tell me nobody can find these walking, talking serpents doing magic and whatever else? Because it's talking about people, a particular nationality of people. Now, I'm not saying they're the only ones that did witchcraft, sorcery, magic, and things, but I'm just saying this is a particular seed line of people. There was never a snake or an apple. In fact, the funny thing about it, even if it was an actual snake, the Bible still never speaks about an apple. But it goes to show you that the churches are just, encapsulated with fairy tales. A snake and an apple coming to a naked woman, which she wasn't naked, by the way. Well, yeah, and as a matter of fact, I'm gonna get beast real quick and see what comes off her beast. Chaya, living alive. Little lively, active of man. Ooh, I never saw that before. You see, beasts, because it's talking about man. Relatives. See, and there's a separate definition for animals. See, so men. So, oh man, Ecclesiastes. I want to say it's in 3, but I don't want to go find it. As a matter of fact, I could do this. They, themselves are beasts. It's a hit and miss with the blue letter though. Hopefully it comes up. Yep, Ecclesiastes 3:18. I said in mine heart concerning the state of the sons of men, that the Most High might manifest them, and that they might see that they themselves are beasts. And I'm curious if the word what comes up from here. Wild beasts. Well, we know it's talking about men because clearly it said men, and when you go back, we saw the same thing here. All right, lively, active of man. So there you go. All the people, and the key word we want to get here was subtle, which is Irawam, shrewd, crafty, da 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 da. Same thing we read because I believe we came from somewhere else, right? Yep, Joel 5. See, and verse 12. The vices of the crafty. So we're talking about Esau, Edom, so that their hands cannot perform their enterprise. The word enterprise here is Thawasha. So wisdom, look, sound knowledge, success. Man, what is that saying? Something about favors their success. their enterprise or something that favors their success. I forget exactly how that little saying goes. I believe it might be one of the ones on a dollar bill, or one of their quotes, one of their sayings that these so-called elites have. But I mean, all this is straightforward wisdom, sound knowledge, success, sound or efficient wisdom, abiding success. Because they think, it says in their inward thoughts is that their houses shall continue forever. Sound or efficient wisdom, which is left hand, which is actually the opposite of everything that's right and righteous in this world according to the Heavenly Father. Abiding success of the effect of sound wisdom. See, they think they're left-handedness and their left hand witchcraft and magic and sorcery and all these different things, that's true wisdom, and it's not. Okay, I think that the scripture says the knowledge of wickedness is not wisdom, or it's something like that. I can't remember exactly how it's worded, but it's not. Okay, any form of knowledge of doing something wicked is not someone being wise. This is someone being wicked. Just going where you deal with Esau, Edom, he's extremely wicked. I was looking down below that intellectual understanding, enterprise, that which thing as it is substance, sound, wisdom, working. So you see that straightforward. He disappointed the devices of the crafty. All right, we can get the word devices. All right, machashava, however you thoughts, device, plan, purpose. His purpose is to fulfill all the things most evil and wicked on the left hand side. Ultimately, the digital system and the microchip. That's his main invention. The C-hips. They even have the brain hips too, but the main one is the one that they want to put into your body. See? So the Lord's going to disappoint these devices of the crafty so that their hands cannot perform their enterprise. He taketh the wise in their own craftiness, because they might have a form of wisdom, but it ain't according to righteousness and to the knowledge and wisdom of the Heavenly Father. That all comes from the left hand side. What the type of time that they're on. That's why it says he taketh the wise in their own craftiness, and the counsel of the forward is carried headlong. They meet with darkness in the daytime and grope in the noonday as in the night. Yep. It's what they say. They say none seeth me. Right, when they have secret meetings and stuff like that, like Davos and stuff like that. Okay, woe unto them that devise iniquity and work evil upon the bed. When the morning is light, they practice it, because it's in the power of their hands to do so. See? But he saveth the poor from the sword, from their mouth, and from the hand of the mighty. And ultimately, in these time periods that we're living in, the ones that are going to be delivered are the remnant only. And these different centers, these camps and stuff like that they're building up, hey, even some of the elect are going to be in there, but the Lord's going to deliver them. Okay, now there are, to be balanced with it, there are some that are going to become martyrs. They're going to be beheaded. It says you that in, not Romans, but Revelation chapter 20 verse 4. Okay, some are going to be beheaded, but ultimately the majority of those, the remnant of the nation of Israel, are going to be delivered. And some of those are going to be delivered from these actual detention centers that they're building up. Okay, actually got more than we wanted there, because I wanted you just to go into that what he was talking about when he said police state. It's basically them moving forward towards their enterprise. Since we're in Job, let's get one to close it on. Job 14 and 5. Seeing his days are determined, the number of his months are with thee. Thou hast appointed his bounds that he cannot pass. Okay, because ultimately Esau is going down, and this is the end of his age, and the beginning of it is Jacob that followeth. Shalom.
Look at the North American markets. The TSX is trying to rally a little bit. It was down by as many as 1,200 points here recently. That's over 5% of the market. The Dow has also rallied too, south of the border. That was down more than 500 points at one point earlier today. Now just over 200 points, at least for now. So again, we're watching a volatile day on the markets. Some significant losses after what has been, for the most part, for the last 12 to 16 months, some steep increases in what we've seen. Joining me now is Don Drummond, economist and former chief economist at TD Bank. Don, thanks for being here.
You're welcome.
Seeing a lot of impact, it believes, and apparently on Donald Trump naming Kevin Warsh as the new Fed chair. He's going to succeed Jerome Powell in May if he's confirmed by the Senate. Is that what is driving these losses on the TSX today?
Yeah, I think the first thing we need to stake out, this has been predominantly in the precious metals such as gold. Mm-hmm. This will seem highly perverse, but it's a negative market response to something that's being perceived as good news. So let's back that up. Of course, there's been great fears that Trump would put in somebody that would just blindly, ignorantly drive interest rates down to his 1%, and that was going to cause further losses in the U.S. dollar. It's going to drive up bond yields. And there's a lot of fear of that. When there's fear, people go into the precious metals, particularly into gold, that's been driving up the prices. He's just nominated somebody who's a known quantity. He's been on the board before. He has written articles that are kind of hawkish on inflation, and people are heaving a sigh of relief, and the price of gold's going down. So a negative result in some fashion, but behind it is something that's being perceived as relatively good news. There certainly could have been more unfavorable picks Trump could have put forward for the Federal Reserve chart.
Yeah, because the Prime Minister himself, who is a former central banker, giving the stamp of approval to Kevin Warsh today. But as you watch that happen too, because of how much gold and the price of silver in particular have gone up, right, Don? We've looked at even year to date, or you go back to last year, it's still up over 70%.
That's exactly what was in my mind. It's not that long ago; it was below $2,000, and you're talking about an asset that pays no interest, it pays no dividend. It's purely a speculative play, and people have been going into it. And of course, for the last quite a while, they've made an awful lot of money from it. But it is a pure speculative play, and when speculation goes the other way, you can expect it to drop down an awful lot. I still say of this appointment, as any appointment, you still got to wait and see. How many times have we watched the movie where somebody we have thought was principled has come in and got sucked into the White House vortex and behaved in a manner that was different than they had previously? So let's not count this as necessarily a safe bet.
And let me get your opinion on that, Don. Do you think that could happen in this situation? And watching it again, at least, for now, when Donald Trump is making an appointment like this and he can have that background, but do you think we're going to have some more uncertainty until we actually do find out what Kevin Warsh is going to do?
Oh, absolutely. Everyone we have seen that's been appointed through Trump has to have gone through a vetting process, and he has to tell them, I want 1% interest rates. Are you going to deliver it? I can't imagine somebody sitting down in the White House in front of him and saying, no, I have no interest in doing that whatsoever. I think the current interest rate level is fine. And Trump saying, fine, I'm going to nominate you. Mm-hmm. I think there has to have been some kind of give and take there. Will he be reckless about it? We can certainly hope not, but we haven't got a good track record of people who have come from the outside and shifted gears relative to their performance previously.
Don Drummond, economist and former chief economist at TD Bank. Appreciate your insight today, Don.
The Trump administration has begun buying warehouses in small towns and cities as part of its $45 billion push to rapidly expand immigration detention spaces. It recently purchased 2 warehouses, one in Maryland and the other in Arizona, for a total of $172 million. A third in Texas could be among the largest deals of any kind in the U.S., with 8,500 beds. And this is according to the Washington Post. U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement plans to buy and convert nearly 24 warehouses. Federal immigration agents are now operating with some of the most powerful surveillance tools ever used by a U.S. law enforcement agency, and civil rights groups are sounding the alarm. After a bill passed last summer turned Immigration and Customs Enforcement into the most highly funded law enforcement body in the country, ICE has moved quickly, buying facial recognition systems, biometric trackers, mobile phone location databases, spyware, and even drones. But this massive tech expansion is not just about immigration enforcement. In recent months, ICE leaders, backed by top officials in the Trump administration, have asserted the authority to monitor and investigate anti-ICE protest networks, including those involving U.S. citizens. An annual report from the Department of Homeland Security confirmed that ICE has significantly expanded how it uses facial recognition, AI, and other advanced tools, while also loosening internal restrictions on their deployment. One mobile app now allows agents to scan faces, fingerprints, and even iris data on the streets, matching people in real time against immigration databases. Democratic lawmakers and civil liberties groups are warning these blurs the line between immigration enforcement and mass surveillance, raising serious questions about privacy, free speech, and government overreach.